Hi, this is Jacqueline for Real Beauty, Real Women. We are with Della Cruz from New Jersey 12. Della, it's so great to have you on the show. We wanted to know a little bit about you. We know you do Spotlight 12 New Jersey, and we were wondering why you felt that that show is so important and how you really came up with that concept.
I love that show because there are so many beautiful people and wonderful stories that really need to be told here in New Jersey. The hard news, the bleed and lead is one thing, but the other is the stories that touch people's hearts, people who are doing them. And that's the reason that I started it. Years ago, I started it as Defying Age, so I kept that name for a couple of years, but after a while, people kept saying, Della, do I really have to come on that show as a Defying Age person? So I decided to change it to Spotlight New Jersey so I could cover people of all ages, from the cutest little kids who come on and steal the show to a guy who's 88 years old, travels the world, sings, and has a girlfriend.
Della, so what is your favorite charities and things that you like to spotlight on the most?
I don't have just one charity that I like to get myself involved with because I care about so many different causes, but particularly I like to focus on homeless children in America. And I mean children of middle-income parents who have worked extremely hard but have lost their homes, have lost their jobs, have lost everything, and still have to care for their children. They're living out of shelters, they're living out of motels, they're living out of wherever they can. And that's how these children have to go to school. They have no address, no place to call home. These are the people I would really like to put the spotlight on and help, because you know what? We are all just a paycheck away from poverty. So don't think it can't happen to you, okay?
Yeah, I totally agree. And 1.6 million children in America are homeless, and a lot of people don't even realize that. And I think that it's hard for people to realize that sometimes you're one paycheck away from being homeless.
It's not just, we keep thinking of poor people. It's not just poor people. Lots of hardworking, middle-income Americans have lost their homes. So it could be any of us at any given time.
Do you ever have any other dreams? Like, do you have any other visions of, like, having another show, or is this what you want to do?
Well, you know, considering I like talking with you right now, I'd love to do a syndicated show with you.
Oh, I would love that too. I would love that too. That's true.
I think we could have a lot of fun. What do you think?
I think we could have a lot of fun. A lot of fun. What were your challenges coming up in the media in this industry, or have you not really faced any yet?
It was made predominantly of men, so I didn't have a lot of women role models to work with, and a lot of the guys trained me in the industry, so I became very tough. You had to. But the one thing that stuck with me, which I'll never forget, is I was constantly told, you are not pretty enough to be in this industry, and as an African American woman, you're not light enough to pass with the pretty blue or green eyes. You'll never make it. 95 years, I'm still here, okay?
Yeah, and you really are beautiful in person. Really? Yeah, you really are. You're beautiful, and like you do.
Thank you.
You have a nice glow about you. Do you still feel like, in this day and age, you being Della Cruz and all you've done, do you still feel like there's adversities that you face?
I would like to think the election of President Barack Obama is starting to open so many doors that weren't open before. When I was growing up as a child, they were just beginning to integrate schools in Bedford, Virginia, where I was. So I was one of the few African American children in this whole sea of Caucasian people. And I remember standing in line with all these boys behind me, calling me the N-word, basically hurting my feelings, saying, why are you here? You don't belong in our school. We don't want you here. Forgive me, because it's one of the things that really wants to make me cry, because I'm glad my kids never had to go through something like that. But it was hard to fathom that in this country, where we all come over here for freedom and the right to live a wonderful life, I'm being told I can't go to the very school of the city that I live in. And even in the military, I had a girlfriend named Gail. We were always playing together and everything. And one day she told me I had to walk behind her because she wasn't allowed to be seen with me at the same time in public. That hurt like you wouldn't believe. Because, I mean, I'm a child who grew up thinking that everybody's the same. My parents taught us that you respect all people regardless of color. Because as my mom said, the great equalizer is the bathroom and the grave. And after that, we are no different. And to know that my friend said I had to walk behind her, that hurt. And I've never forgotten that. But it propelled me to go on to become the best person that I could be. And when you look at me and you talk to me, you're not going to think of me as an African American woman. You're going to think of me as a human being that you respect and hopefully, that you like.
Yeah. Well,
and I'd like to think my kids don't have to go through that nowadays.
yeah, I would really like to think that your kids don't have to go through that either. When I was making my documentary, Not in My Backyard, I kind of, as being the activist that I am, I think I was a little naive to things. But when we were making Not in My Backyard and we went to all these shelters across America, the whole thing was that 100% of our profits of our documentary goes to saving shelters. And what bothered me the most is people said, oh, battered women only happen in inner cities and with black people and Spanish people. And I would say to them, are you crazy? Like, this crosses no social and economic boundaries. And one of the reasons why we do this show and what we like about your show is that I feel that the media is supposed to tell the truth. And the reason why there are so many ignorant people out there is because a lot of the media doesn't tell, 100% of the truth.
I know I work in the media, but it's the responsibility of the public to be discerning. You can't believe everything you see, hear, and read. To a certain degree, you've got to do your homework. You've got to do some critical thinking. We need to do more of that in school, not just memorize facts. Do critical thinking. Ask questions. I feel like I grew up in a generation of where they protested, they had sit-ins, they marched. What happened to this generation? Have we spoiled them to the point of where they're afraid to stand up and make a difference?
Yes. Yeah.
And with young ladies, with Title IX and feminism and the fact that we fought for female rights, forgive me, gentlemen, okay, I'm not picking on you, but why are you relying on your boyfriends to tell you what to do? You're a young lady. You're in that age bracket where you need to be finding out who you are, what you need to be doing in life, what you're made of. You don't need to be attached to the man to be defined as to the individual, the woman that you are becoming.
I'm right on. I'm like, that's what we're all about. We always say that we cover a lot of protests, and my mentor, Sandra Ramos, she was the first person to open a battered women's shelter in North America. So she's like a hippie. I mean, no, she's a real hippie. She lives in a purple tank still. She's 69. She has 11 shelters in New Jersey, and I'm always going to pray with her and the woods. She's very eccentric, but I feel like she's the most fascinating person I've ever met because she seems to really get life where it's not about what you wear or what you do, it's about who you are. And she'll say to me all the time, your generation is just so boring. What is wrong with you girls? You don't do anything. And what I have to say is I'm very lucky. I have great friends. They're not all activists, but they always support and encourage me in everything I do. And my parents were hippies, so they always support and encourage me in everything I do. My parents, we didn't even know that it was wrong. No one ever said, if you're gay, you shouldn't be black, white, tall, fat, thin. We really were brought up where just you love everyone. We're all human beings, and, without humanity, the world is nothing.
To do with technology.
Yes.
You know what? It's so funny. They call it these social media, but people have become more disconnected than ever. I mean, you'll be sitting in a room working with people. Nobody gets up to come talk to you anymore. They're emailing you.
Yeah.
And God forbid you use a telephone. What is that? Antiquated like a dinosaur?
My parents grew up rough and poor, so then each generation you want to give your kids more and more and more. But I think what's happened is we've given kids everything, so now they have no concept of struggling.
They haven't struggled. They haven't suffered. I let my kids go through pain. I let them make their mistakes because you got to live and learn. If you protect them, granted, we want to protect them. That's just the instincts of parents. But you can't protect them from everything because you know what? When you're not around, somebody is going to knock that child down. And if they don't know how to pick themselves up without your hand, I feel sorry for them. It's like the mother in the nest, the mother bird. She knocks that child out. You either fly or you drop and die, okay? And that's what we have to teach our kids. You've got to learn to stand up on your own 2 feet.
What's happened with each generation is we really have become everything's based on what you wear. What you wear and what you drive and where you live. So people have really become so consumed with your status versus who you are, and it's not really cool to stand up for what you believe in. I think it's more cool just to go with the crowd.
It's nothing wrong with having things. I won't say materialism is a bad thing, because it's not. You work for it, you've earned it, but it should not define who you are. The fact that you live in a big house, you drive a Beamer or an Audi or a Benz or whatever, or you work here or there and you make all this money, that doesn't define who you are, because when you are dead and gone, where does it go? To somebody else to enjoy, okay? You can't take it with you. Yes. And I love the way people are always building temples to themselves, you know, but excuse me, the earth could open up and swallow that too, and again, you're nobody. You've got to remember who you really are in the big scheme of things. And the universe, we are like this, a minuscule. Look at the tragedies we've seen.
George Carlin said, like, don't worry about, you know, the earth, don't worry about you know, global warming, because what the earth is going to do is it's just going to shake us right off. It's just going to get tired of us and say, you know what, you want to just keep on taking everything? We're just going to shake it off. And the problem is that the earth keeps on doing that. So we have to really start, like, being conscious. And, you know, I think it's also hard, but what I will say with our show is, we are so lucky because we're always surrounded by people, whether it's Lorene Arbus, who started Showtime, you, Louis Guzman, you know, people who are rich or better off, have fame, but they're really making a difference, and they really do care. And I think for us, for like the RBRW team, it's really nice for us because we see that change happening. You know, we see that shift happening with all these different places and all these different states and all these different celebrities and activists coming together and saying, okay, yeah, you can have nice things. Who doesn't want to have nice things? But you can also be generous and understand, like, what the world's about and be happier. I think, like, that's really the big message is a lot of people are so caught up with technology or things that they're missing the picture, that they're not really happy.
Poet Maya Angelou said it best, and I love this quote. I had it posted on my desk for a while. When you make a name for yourself, you must use that name in helping others.
You said that you love this quote, life can only be understood backwards. Unfortunately, it must be lived forwards. I really like that quote, too.
You know why I like that quote? Because what do we all do when we're teenagers? We think we know everything. We think we're invincible. We think we'll live forever. We won't die, right? In our 20s, we think, okay, we know everything. We're better than our parents. We're smarter than the world. Okay, by the time we get to our 30s, we start to realize, oh, maybe we're not as bright as we think. By the time you hit midlife crisis, you're like, oh, dear, maybe I need to go back and redo that life all over again. By the time you hit 95, the way I have, you really look at it and think, you really know nothing, do you? The thing of it is, though, I wouldn't go back and change a thing, because all of the experiences, and I call them experiences. I won't call them mistakes, because you don't make a mistake because you learn from it, okay? So everything that has happened to me up to this point has made me the person that I am. So therefore, I won't look back. You know, I might review it every now and then and think, oh, okay, and have my kids make fun of me, but I wouldn't change a thing because it's made me the person that I am. You can't grow if you haven't lived.
Yeah, I really liked on your show, and I wanted to tell our fans this. When we did your show, we had sent in all pictures with celebrities, and you were actually the first person to say, well, why did you send me all these pictures with the celebrities? I don't want these pictures. I want pictures of you with regular people showing what you did, and that really meant a lot to me.
I know people get caught up in celebrity, but I don't. I mean, yes, I'll watch it on TV, but the bottom line is, our viewers are real people. Sure, the celebrities might tune in, but who really is watching us? The real people who know people, who have family, relatives, colleagues, who want to tune in to see them on TV.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
It was really, really nice getting to know you.
Because I'm so delighted to meet you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And you keep up the good work you're doing.
I will. You do too. This is Jacqueline Ludo and Della Cruz for RBRW. Thank you.